Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am going to do a presentation on From Compliance to Engagement, Creating Classrooms Where Students Truly Learn. Have you ever walked into a classroom where every student was sitting quietly, looking at the teacher, completing their assignments, and following every direction?
Yep.
Yes, we have. Some of us. So from the outside, it looks like the perfect classroom. Now let me ask you another question. Were those students actually learning?
Right.
Sometimes the answer is yes, but sometimes the answer is also no. As educators, we often celebrate classrooms that are orderly and compliant, and there isn't anything wrong with that. Students are quiet, they raise their hands, they complete their work, they follow directions. Yay! While those behaviors certainly make classroom management easier, compliance alone does not guarantee meaningful learning.
Right.
Today I want to explore the difference between student compliance and authentic engagement. Understanding the difference can transform the way we teach and the way our students learn. By the end of this presentation, I hope you will understand that compliance and engagement, what they really are, why engagement matters so much, and several practical strategies that can help move students from simply doing school to truly learning. And that's the goal, right?
Yeah. Right.
Let's begin by defining the difference between compliance and engagement. Student compliance is when students do what they are told because they are expected to. They complete assignments, they remain quiet, they follow direction, and they meet the classroom expectation. Their motivation is often external. They may be working for a grade, avoiding consequences, or simply just pleasing their teacher. Engagement, however, it is very different. Engaged students are mentally invested in their learning. They ask questions because they're curious. They participate in discussions because they want to understand what you're teaching them. They make connections between new ideas and prior knowledge. They think critically, they collaborate with others, and take ownership of their learning. And isn't that our dream?
Yeah.
So think about these two classrooms. In the first classroom, every student is silent while completing their worksheet. The room is calm and it is organized. In the second classroom, students are discussing ideas, they're solving problems together, they're asking questions and explaining their thinking. The room is a little noisier, but the conversations are focused and they're purposeful. Which classroom would you say is engaged? Most of us would say the second one. This doesn't mean quiet classrooms are ineffective, because that is important. Or that the active classrooms are always successful. We know that that is not always true. The difference lies in what is happening inside the minds of your students. Educational researcher John Hattie has spent decades studying what has the greatest impact on student achievement. His research analyzed more than 2,100 meta-analysts representing over 130 million students worldwide. One of his strongest conclusions is that learning improves when students actively participate in the learning process rather than simply receiving information. When students think deeply, discuss ideas, receive meaningful feedback from their teachers, and reflect on their understanding, learning becomes more permanent for the student. The research leads to our next question. Why does engagement matter? First, engaged students learn more. When students actively process information, they remember it longer because they are making meaningful connections rather just memorizing isolated facts. Second, engagement increases motivation in a student. Students who see purpose in what they are learning become more willing to participate, and I'm sure we have all encountered this. So instead of asking, do I have to do this? How many have we heard that by a student? The students, when they get engaged, they will start asking, how can I learn more about what you're teaching me? Third, engagement develops critical thinking. Today, students need much more than the ability to memorize information. They need to analyze, evaluate, solve problems, communicate effectively, and work collaboratively. Finally, engagement improves classroom culture, and this is my favorite. Students who feel connected to their learning often demonstrate better behavior because they have a reason to participate in class. They are no longer simply just following the rules, but they are investing in their own success, which causes a kid to act better. It is important to remember that student engagement does not look exactly the same for every learner. Okay, factors such as students' age, development level, socioeconomic background, mental health, learning needs, and personality all influence how they engage in a classroom. For example, younger students, they need movement, they need hands-on activity, while older students often benefit from discussion in real-world applications. Some students thrive in collaborative groups, while others need a minute and they need some time to process independently before they have to share in front of everyone. Likewise, students experiencing stress, anxiety, or challenges outside of school may require additional support before they can fully engage in learning, and we have to be aware of that. As educators, our goal isn't to use a single strategy for every student, right? We're aware of that. But to create multiple opportunities for every learner to participate in a meaningful way. So, why does engagement matter? It produces better thinking, great motivation, higher achievement in our students, and stronger relationships. Okay, so how can we create more engagement in our classrooms? First, guys, we have to ask better questions. Instead of asking questions with one correct answer, ask questions that require students to explain their thinking. For example, instead of asking, what is the answer? Ask them, how did you get this answer? Can you show me? Because that creates better thinkers. Second, provide opportunities for collaboration. Think, pair, share. Small group discussions, peer teaching, and collaborative problem solving encourages students to process information more deeply. Third, provide meaningful choices. When students have ownership of their learning, engagement naturally will increase in a classroom. Fourth, use formative assessments such as exit tickets, quick polls, whiteboards, or short discussions. Finally, connect learning to students' lives. When students understand why something matters, they become more invested in the learning. Okay, I have a video, and I would like, as you guys watch this video, it's very short, I want you not to focus on the teachers, because sometimes as teachers, that's what we do. But I want you to focus on the students, and I want you to be able to tell me what evidence do you see in these students truly engaging, okay? Oh, sorry. And there's no volume. Okay, so what did you guys notice in the video?
Like pairing up together.
Pairing up together, okay, there's collaborative learning happening. The teachers' discussions, they're kind of standing back and they're letting the kids, they've already given the instruction, and now they just step back and they let the students engage. I know, right? So notice that engagement wasn't about the students being loud or simply busy, because sometimes that's where we focus in on. It was about students thinking, questioning, collaborating, and taking ownership of their own learning, which is so vital.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, as a math teacher, Graham can testify on this, I've seen this firsthand. Students become much more interested when they understand how mathematics or English or science, whatever the subject is, applies to their lives. So for math, when they realize, oh, this applies to budgeting that I'm gonna have to do someday. Construction, sports statistics, business, or just everyday life decisions. So the content hasn't changed, but the connection has. Every day we make instructional decisions that either encourage passive compliance or active engagement in our students.
Right.
Sometimes the change is as simple as asking one better question or allowing students one opportunity to explain their thinking, and we have to leave room for that. Okay, when we shift our focus from simply managing behavior to cultivating curiosity, our classrooms become places where students don't just complete the assignments, but they develop understanding. Remember these 3 ideas. Compliance manages behavior. Engagement develops thinking. Thinking creates lifelong learning. The goal of student engagement isn't to make every classroom look the same, right? That's not gonna happen. The goal is to create a learning environment where students, regardless of age, background, personality, or life circumstances, has the opportunity to think deeply, participate meaningfully, and to grow. I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Our greatest success as educators is not measured by how quietly students sit or how quickly they finish their work, because sometimes we make that, the focus. It is measured by whether they leave our classroom thinking more deeply than when they entered. Compliance may produce classroom order, which is good, but it has to be balanced with engagement that produces lifelong learners. Thank you guys.